Hey y'all, Alto is back, but he's got a bit of a different video for you today. Alto is going to be discussing the new leaks for Buggy Starter Deck 25. Spoiler alert, us Buggy enjoyers are not having a great time. Let's go over the deck profile and hear his thoughts. If you think Bandai is treating us like clowns, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and join us in our next stream on TikTok.
Hey y'all, it is your boy Alto, and here today we are going to talk about the Starter Deck 25 cards coming out for Buggy in the next couple of weeks. So if you guys know anything about me, I am a huge Buggy coper. I brought the deck to locals. I made a bunch of videos about this deck, and overall just really love the character, whether it be in the card game or the show. So with that being said, I have been super excited to hear about all of the different cards coming out in the starter deck. But it is a code red, y'all, for all of us Buggy copers. It is an emergency because 2 cards have been revealed and it is not looking good at all for our boy Buggy. Right now, he needs a lot of help in order for him to be meta. Just because of how he works. So if you guys aren't super familiar with Buggy, let's go ahead and have a look at his leader ability. So it is an activate main. You may rest 5 Dawn and discard 1 card from your hand. Play up to 1 cross guild type character from your hand. So there is no limit of how many times you can use this within a given turn. Obviously, since at most you could have 10 Dawn, you could at most use this leader ability twice, but still it is a really strong card. Not being tied to a cost allows us to play out something like a 7 cost Croc with 5 Dawn, which then also allows us to play out, something like one of our Daw's Bones variations, as long as we're discarding a card and resting 5 Dawn. So for 5 Dawn and 1 card, we essentially get a 7 Dawn character along with a 5 Dawn character. Or for example, you can also play out something like this Buggy, which is 7 Dawn, and then we also get to play out a Mihawk, which is 6 Dawn. Or in a different situation, we can also play out this 10 cost Buggy. So overall, the leader ability is really strong. Honestly, with a couple of really strong cards, this deck could get really out of hand. If we could get something like 8 costs without any sort of repercussions in playing it out, other than using its leader ability, could really overtune this deck. So I understand where Bandai needs to draw the line with this deck, because it has the ability to play out multiple bodies. Not just that, but multiple bodies with a 5 cost or higher. So things like, removal decks have a really hard time getting rid of cards, that are above 5 costs. Not just that, but like red decks, for example, that tend to have, relatively low power, but allows you to swing multiple times within a given turn, swarming the board. If Buggy is able to kind of swarm the board with bodies that are worth higher costs and higher power, being able to maintain a red board becomes kind of tough against Buggy, right? Or even decks like Blackbeard has a really hard time, especially with our ability to go ahead and play out this 10 cost Buggy if they use their leader ability. So I understand there are a lot of meta decks right now that kind of have a bad time against Buggy. So they need to be a little bit careful about how they go ahead and tune the deck, add additional cards to the cross guild type. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at least in terms of the deck. And if you guys know the kind of limitations that come with Buggy, it's 2 things. It is hand size is an issue, and then also maintaining a board in order for you to play out this 10 cost Buggy without having it bounce back to deck. So a lot of times we're going to be playing out cards that allow us to draw cards in order for us to keep, 1, our hand size healthy, and then 2, allow us to get cards that allow us to swarm the board in order for us to play this 10 cost Buggy. So a lot of times you're going to be going on the odd curve. So as you guys know, our leader ability only comes online when we have 5 Dawn. So we're going to be resting 5 Dawn, and ideally we're going to play out something like a Mihawk, which allows us to play out another card and then also draw a card. So swarming board, and then also keeping our hand size relatively healthy because of the fact that we're going to be going -3 when we play this out, because we need to discard a card with our leader ability. So -1, -2 plus leader ability, that's -3, but this allows us to draw one more card, puts us in a decent spot, a decent trade, to be honest. Similarly to how this 7-cost Buggy, if we were to use leader ability, -1, we're going to play out this Mihawk in tandem with it, -2, -3 from the leader ability, but we go ahead and add a card into hand, allowing us to keep hand size healthy, only going -2. And -2 is like still pretty tough. Keep in mind though that like a lot of the deck profile, at least my deck profile at the moment, allows us to draw a card. So for example, Marguerite right now allows us to draw 1 card when you play it. So in the early game, we want to make sure that 1, we're seeing all of our pieces, and then 2, we're drawing cards in order for us to survive in the late game. So we could play out things like Cross Guild, which allows us to search, get our pieces similarly with Mr. 3. And then of course, Da's Bones lets us draw a card. Mihawk lets us draw a card. Even Alvida, which doesn't let us draw a card, but we're not going to be using leader ability when we play her out, but it does maintain our board presence. So if this card gets KO'd, we could go ahead and play a card from our hand to replace it, to make sure that like on our 9 Dawn turn, we're able to go ahead and play out this Buggy. And this is like an ideal situation, right? So on our 5 Dawn turn, we want to go ahead and play out a Swarmer in our Crocodile or our Buggy. On our 7 Dawn turn, we want to do something similar. That way we have 4 cards on the field in order for us to go ahead and play out the Buggy. But a lot of times, you're not going to have that kind of hand, and you don't run into that perfect scenario very often. Not just that, but people are going to be swinging into your board. Not just that, but your hand size is going to be really small at that point, which means that you won't have much counter to defend your board. All these things kind of have to be kept in mind. And kind of something that we run into relatively often is in the end game we don't have a lot of counter, which is why we're running this Level Up Beam, which allows us to draw a card as well if we have like 3 cards in hand. So that's kind of the major themes of the deck. We want to make sure that we have our Swarmers in order for our board to stay relatively healthy to play out our 10-cost Buggy at the end. And then also we want to be drawing cards in order for us to be able to counter out to save our board to again play out that 10-cost Buggy. And then also 3 in order for us to have counter at later times. With that being said, the toughest thing here is that 9 Dawn turn. It does get a little bit awkward if you're not in the ideal situation that I mentioned earlier. And I understand with the cards that are coming out in the starter deck, it is there to kind of help mitigate that. But let's go ahead and go through them and talk through some of the different plays or lines that we can have with these cards to get a better idea of if they're good. And I do have my opinions. So we'll go ahead and talk about the 4-cost Alvida first. So again, it is a 4-cost 5k power. It is cross skilled, so fits right into the package. It does have 1k counter, which is pretty nice. But we do have some options for it. And I'm going to be right off the bat. I think that this card is okay. And I think it does have its place in the deck. Maybe not a 4 of, but still relatively good. Let's talk about its ability. If you have 2 or more characters with original cost of 5 or more, this character gets +1 cost. On play, if the leader is Buggy, draw 3 cards, discard 2 cards from your hand. So this card's pretty nice. I wouldn't say it is the best card out there. It helps again with your 9 Dawn turn. So if you're on 9 Dawn and you only have 3 5-cost characters out there, you won't be able to play out that Buggy. But this allows you to, 1, play it out, treat it as a 5-cost, and then also you get to cycle, which is pretty nice, especially, you know, if you're looking for things like counter or, you know, even things like love beam. It gives you those options, right? Yes, you do have to discard 2, so you only go +1, but that's fine. We'll take that any day. Again, like when you have 3 cross-skilled characters that are 5 or more, play this out as your 4th, and then on your with the remaining 5 Dawn, you could go ahead and play out your big Buggy. So pretty good. Honestly, like, might take the place of Alvida. Keep in mind that we also have a very similar card in the meta that will be coming out with OP11. It's actually one of the release cards in the release events for OP11. It is this 4-cost Dracula Mihawk. So it similarly has an activate main. You may return this character to your hand. If you have 3 or more cross-skilled type characters in play, you may play up to 1 5-cost cross-skilled type character from your hand. So again, this is meant to go ahead and aid you in that 9 Dawn turn. It is very similar. Honestly, the 4-cost Alvida coming out in the starter deck might be the choice, just because you get a card draw as well, or a cycle, I guess. Originally, before all of the cards have been released here in the US, in my Japanese Buggy deck, I was running this Mihawk along with this Crocodile. This Crocodile, there's no words of this at the moment, but this Mihawk was the obvious choice instead of this Alvida. So yeah, if the new Alvida looks to be better, we might be running that instead. So yeah, overall thoughts, this card is pretty okay. It has counter, it has cycle, it helps with the 9 Dawn turn, so honestly might be like a 3 of in the deck. But the biggest offender by a large margin is going to be the first SR that has been released in the starter deck, at least for the Buggy starter deck. It is the 4-cost 1k power Buggy. So let's talk about this. Its activate main is you may discard 1 card and send this character to the trash. If your leader is Buggy, play up to 1 6-cost or lower cross-skill type character card from your hand. Yeah, so let's think about that for a second. Let's talk about it. We play this card out. Say, for example, we have 5 cards in hand, right? Which a lot of times on our, 9 Dawn turn, we're gonna have maybe 5 cards, maybe 6. Overall, we're not gonna have a huge hand, right? So we go ahead and play this card. That's -1. In order for you to use its activate main, you need to discard 1 card, which then trashes this card, and then you get to play another 6-cost or lower cross-skill type character. So that's -3 cards in hand, leaving you at 2 cards in hand. And if you're not playing out in tandem this Dracula Mihawk, which would probably be a best case scenario, you're gonna be stuck at 2 cards in hand, -3. So yeah, like, I'm not necessarily sure where this fits into the deck, just because of the fact that we have that Alvida that's coming through, or even Mihawk. This looks to be a pretty terrible card. I don't think it's ever justifiable to go -3 for a 5-cost. Especially when there are different options out there for you to do that. Not just that, but you could put up things like blockers instead. I don't see how this card really fits into the deck. Especially the most egregious thing about it is that if we look at the Hiyori that came out in EBO1, it's just 1,000 times better, right? Like, if this Buggy had functioned in how this card had worked, it would have been for sure a +4 in deck, right? Like a 4 of in deck. So let's look at this Hiyori. It's an activate main, which again works around the Blackbeard. Beautiful. You may place this card into your trash, place up to 1 5 cost or less land of Wano type character other than Hiyori from your hand into play, then draw 1 card. So you still get the card draw, you still get the 5 costs out, and yes, it is type locked, but you know, it would make sense, especially with all of our cards running around cross guild, to have it be type locked. But yeah, you still get your 5 costs out at 4 Dawn, right? It'll cost you 4 Dawn to play out this card, and it has 1k counter. So it is clear that Bandai knows that there are different cards out there that function in the same way that this card should probably function, but doesn't have any of the negatives. It is really disappointing, and you know, as somebody that really loves Buggy, I really hope that, you know, the remainder of the cards that are going to be coming out for this Buggy deck are strong, and give us some options in terms of 1, keeping our hand size healthy, 2, giving us options on our 4 Dawn turn, and then 3, or sorry, not our 4 Dawn turn, our 9 Dawn turn, and then also 3, giving us ways to play out this Buggy as quickly as possible, because it is our end game boss, right? And not just that, but thematically it would make sense that, you know, we have some Buggies that we could play out there that can attack pre 10 Dawn. You know, right now we do have the 7 cost Buggy, but this currently can't attack. So you know, even something like bringing this card online and allowing it to attack would be amazing for the deck. We'll see though. Yeah, I'm honestly interested to kind of see where it goes, because of the fact that, like, you know, right now we don't have very good even curve cards or even curve options, right? So, you know, even if we do on our 6 on turn get out a Buggy, or sorry, one of our swarmers, whether it be Mihawk plus Mihawk plus the Buggy, or the Crocodile plus the DOS Bones, it still puts us in a weird place where the Alvida doesn't come online, and then also, like, after going -3 cards on a turn, you know, if we want to play out the Buggy 4 cost that's coming out of the starter deck, we need to go another -3 in hand, right? Like, that's kind of the situation that we're in. Even curve is just terrible at the moment for Buggy. So if we could have more options kind of going in that direction where even curve makes more sense, or, you know, really strengthening that odd curve, that would definitely bring this card into the meta and make it more viable. I'm the hugest Buggy enjoyer. I don't want to be molding. I would love to see some more cards come out for the deck, and you know, obviously the entire starter deck list hasn't been released, so that option might still be out there, y'all. Let's cross those fingers and hope to God that there are going to be a couple of cards that could really bring this deck into the meta. But until then, let's see where we go. You know, like, I honestly don't think that the deck list right now, at least with the cards that have been released, changes too much. Maybe a 3 of the Alvida, but definitely right now the SR is not an option, at least for me. And maybe I'm not seeing all the lines. I'd love to see it. If you guys have any comments or, you know, thoughts about how this deck should work with that 4 cost Buggy, because if you guys are seeing something that I'm not seeing, let me know. I'm always down to give it a try, and yeah, we'll see where we land. But until then, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those other things. Catch you guys later.